Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Cruise Control Podcast. This is episode number 6. I'm here with Grant Menard, who is a good friend of mine. One of the best huggers I know. Just, make sure you catch him at a trade show or other event. He just gives those nice, genuine hugs. But we've known Grant. I've known Grant for a while. He's a great, inspiring business guy, has done a lot in the detailing industry, consulting, works with other businesses. And I'm just super excited to talk to him about this because I think it'll be inspiring and educational for all of us. So welcome, Grant. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Hey, so go ahead and tell us, that's your basic, beyond your hugging skills. Why don't you fill us in on kind of your background, which is really diverse. And I think probably most people don't really know your full story and your journey. And I think the journey itself is something that is super inspirational and educational for people. So
yeah, so my hugging is because I'm 6'4" and tall, so I have a nice little wingspan, so I can do a nice little grab behind.
Yeah, and you just kind of nuzzle into that. I'm 6 foot, but I can still kind of nuzzle into that chest. That's always nice.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of got, as weird as this, I'm 31. I got kind of a different background. I mean, I could go all the way back, but it all started in basically 06. So I'm one of 5 kids, grew up in Wisconsin, kind of that Midwest vibe. My dad was one of 14 kids, and my mom, came from a little family. So I was always surrounded by a lot of people growing up, which is kind of where I get just my understanding of people, because I've always been surrounded by them. But we moved out to Pennsylvania for my dad's job in early 2000s. And a couple of years after we did that, he was diagnosed with cancer. So he was diagnosed with colon cancer, and we lost him in 06. So I was 13 years old when, basically the not even mentor, but my best friend passed away, and the guy that raised me, the guy that, was my mom's love of her life. So when that happened, that was like my big transition in life, because I had to grow up quickly, and I was the middle child, or I am the middle child of 5. But that's kind of how my childhood transition, and my dad left the greatest legacy that anybody could ever ask for, not because he's my dad, but you can ask all the people that were surrounded by him in his short 46 years of living. His legacy is the greatest ever. So even though I only had him for 13 years, it felt like I had him for a lifetime. So that's kind of where my mindset has been ever since then. Was based off of, most people live 30,000 days if you're lucky. My dad's was cut out short by about 15,000 days. So I live my life as if I only had 15,000. So every day I try to live it to the fullest. I graduated high school, went to Penn State, graduated there, and I grew up in like a pharmaceutical town. So our big pharma town, you got all the big, Merck, J&J.
All the most popular companies in the country right now is what you're saying?
Yes. So that is the town that's the town I live in. It's all Merck execs. Like both the CEOs of Merck and J&J are neighbors, which is also a coincidence. I can get into that, pretty deep too. But that was the industry I always wanted to get into, just because it was kind of my town. And I loved it too. I saw a lot of success, and that's kind of, growing up and seeing all the people around me in the homes I got to live in. Like I was very blessed in the town I was raised in. At least
those pharmaceutical reps, man, they crush it. They do very well.
And it's kind of like, if you get in, you're in forever. So they call it the golden handcuffs when you're in the pharmaceutical world. That's kind of what you get, but it's understandably like you get a great, health benefits and great pay, and basically all the things that they tell you when you're growing up that you should do is what I got into, right? Get the health benefits, get the 401k, get a job that you can live at or stay in for 30 years, and you can, build in and start at the bottom and work your way up. So I got into pharma. I killed it in that world. I was there for 18 months. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it wasn't for what I did. I kind of succeeded with everything I could do in that industry in a short amount of time. And I was just not aligned. Much of what we've seen in the last couple of years is not aligned with what pharma did. So I quit. And it was
that's a hard one for someone that really has strong ethics, even beyond what we've seen the last couple of years. There's some, we probably know more about those tactics now, but there's some tactics and strategies and the way you have to present yourself that, if you got a strong moral compass, it's a little bit rough to kind of hang out in that world, right?
Well, especially with Kevin, with what you're doing too, with men's health now as well, like it goes hand in hand. So a lot of the beliefs that you have, and we've talked about this, and a lot of the times that we spent together, like there's just some things that you start to learn and I learned them thankfully when I was young. And because I had to grow up so young at the age of 13, I basically bypassed 20 years of my life. So I was thinking
Yeah.
in my 40s when when I was living in my early 20s, and I just realized that it just wasn't. I just didn't want to be there until I was 50 years old. Like, and I killed it, dude. I was making an extreme amount of
Jeez.
money for 23
Yeah.
years old. Like I was traveling, I had the cars, like I had everything that I ever wanted at such a young age. And I was a hustler too, but I had the detail gig on the side. And I just realized I was like, I'm just not aligned with that, but I'm 100% aligned with cars. And like most of us, I didn't grow up saying I'm going to detail cars. I don't think there's one person in our industry that said, oh, I want to detail cars.
Right.
We all fell into it. And so did I. I was 100% that person. It was just like, I mowed lawns when I was younger. I worked at a pharmacy. I did the pharmaceutical thing, and then next thing you know, I'm detailing cars. So that's kind of how I got into it. It was just a whim. I quit. I was at a men's group out in San Francisco, where it was young entrepreneurs or young hustlers that you had to at least make six figures to get into this group. It was a very limited amount of people. Each quarter, you had a retreat. This retreat just so happened to be in San Francisco, where they would bring some like incredibly spiritual people into your lives that would just help you get through all the struggles that we all go through.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, just as humans. So I was part of this just beautiful, loving group of men called Epic Impact. And when I was out there, I was in the basement, and they brought something up to me, and I just started breaking down. It was something that no one had ever brought up to me ever. I knew about it, but nobody else did except for these two men. Oh, I still feel those emotions now. And they brought
Yeah.
it up to me in that room, and I just realized, yeah, this is not what I'm meant to do in life, is on the pharma side. So I just got engaged like 2 months prior. So my wife was like, oh, I'm going to marry, at the time my fiance, oh, I'm going to marry this dude. He's killed, he's in the farm. He's got the job. He's got everything. He's got the money and the cars and the support. And next thing you know, I quit, and I didn't tell her about it, but I quit on a Monday morning. I called her,
Oh.
and I was crying, and I was like, hey, just, that dude you married that you thought was everything you wanted it to be. Yeah, it's not that. I'm detailing cars. She's like, what? But that's what I did. And that's kind of and it was the hardest thing ever, because I had two people that supported me, which were my two brothers, my two older brothers. And that was it. Everyone else told me I was an absolute idiot. Or that it wasn't the right move, and what am I doing, and why are you leaving this golden job, and all these things. But at the end of the day, it was something that I felt passionate about, and I was willing to follow that passion versus have all the outsiders' insight in.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody else is judging your life based on how they perceive your success, right? Like I mean, I talk a lot about just redefining what success actually looks like to different people.
Yeah.
And it's always funny how other people outside of your life can try to define what success means to you. And what it really is how they define success in your context,
Yep.
and based on what you're doing with your life. So that's super admirable for you to take that journey and to say, look, this is not something I want to do with my life. You're a young guy, still are, to me, obviously. But to have that kind of epiphany early on, instead of when you're my age, like 50, to go and do the corporate thing. And literally there's a reason they call it the golden handcuffs, right? Like you literally can't get out of it at that point. You've already established everything so far that even if you hated it, you're pretty well stuck. So that's pretty awesome to do that in your early 20s.
And that was tough. Like the exit was tough, because I legitimately just had to ghost everybody. Like I had built such strong connections. Like I was on boards of different organizations, and like I had created a great name for myself in that industry. And don't get me wrong, I loved my job over there. I loved that job. I loved the people I worked for. I loved the leadership. Like I loved everybody over there. It was just internally, I just wasn't aligned with it. But when I left, that was the hardest part by far. And now I totally understand. It's like it's literally like going to jail, right? You have all your friends around you. Next thing you know, you're in a cell with nobody around you, and you have no choice. You can't reach out to them. And I had no choice. I couldn't reach out to them. That was part of the contract I had put into place when I exited. So it was tough. It was very tough, and it's still that's one of the gripping part. Like the thing that pains me about leaving that job was that there were so many connections that for 2 years I was not able to reach out to.
Have you been able to rekindle those now? I mean, is it
I've
any of
tried.
those, or is that just kind of that was it, right?
Yeah, I've tried. I've tried, and it's different. It's definitely different.
Which, I mean, you've built new connections and new networks and new friends and,
Yeah.
all that. But still, yeah, that's painful when it's funny that you say that, because I actually just reached out to a friend of mine over the weekend that I hadn't talked to in 12 years.
Mm.
And it was weird. Like it was like it's like we talked last week, which
Yep.
was nice. But to look back and say, "Hey, Sam, how long has it been?" Oh, well, I left in 2011. I'm like, really? So, like, the time goes really, really fast. So you start detailing, and you still have the shop now. This is a dumb
Yeah.
question on my
Yeah.
part.
So no, it's not a dumb question because I call it my web, right? So the detailing shop, Menard Premium Detailing. It started as Menard Auto Detailing, and then I was like, oh, I gotta put premium in the name because we're gonna get once we got into ceramic coating, we're gonna get that premium product, right?
Yeah.
So it changed to Menard Premium Detailing in 2018. So that's when I quit my old job and I went all in. So I started the detail shop technically as Menard Auto Detailing in 2015, but it was a side job doing like less than 10 grand a year revenue
Mm.
wise. Like it was like I'm just gonna work on the weekends because was therapeutic to me, especially after hustling in the pharma job. I'm just gonna do this and clean cars and make some side cash, some beer money. So that's what I did, but it didn't actually go legit. I at least say that our inception was 2018 when we went after it, and that's when I started it. So I started out of my mom's garage. I was there for about 4 months with a couple of high school kids, Colin and Mike. Mike's still with me today. He actually runs the front of our shop. Dude's awesome.
Nice.
I call him Millionaire Mike. So that's when we got into that. And my mom kicked us out on a Thursday because we had closed a Jeep dealership and they had eight Jeeps that needed dropped or that needed detailed. And I said, oh yeah,
Oh,
bring them on over. So I thought they were gonna bring one over at a time, Kev. No, dude, they dropped all eight. They brought a double stacker trailer, open trailer of 8 Jeeps and dropped them in my mom's front yard. And
oh.
I've seen my mom mad. I've done a lot of, boy things in my days, and I've never seen my mom that upset in her life. She said, Grant, you can detail out the garage, but don't block my garage door. I just want to come in and out. Right. Well, not only was that blocked, she also said
The
never drive
whole
in
the
the
whole
back.
yard was.
Well, oh, dude, it was bad. So that happened. She's like, she's like, you're done. And my mom, she says it pains her today, but that was the greatest thing my mom ever did, was kick me out of the garage because I went from zero expenses. We did like 36 grand the first year, but zero expenses to now I had to get into a shop. I was able to find one that weekend, call, connect, got one on Saturday, or booked it that next Friday, signed the lease, was in there by Monday because I had a whole week of details. And that's when the company just started going. I was able
Mm.
to see, okay, now I have enough room for like 6 cars, 8 cars. And my mindset is I'm going to fill those. Not how am I going to fill it? It's no, I'm going to fill it. And if I can fill it, like I'm a math guy. So in my head, I'm like 8 cars, $300 a car. It's $2,400 a day, 5 days a week. That's $1,200. So, $1,200 a week. Or wait, no, wait, eight car, eight
12,000.
cars. Yeah. 12,000 a week, right? 500 grand a year. And that's exactly what we did. So the numbers that were going in my head is exactly what we were able to produce. We outgrew that shop in 6 months, got into our second shop, outgrew that in 6 months, had to wait a year and a half because there's nothing else available. And that's when we got into our current location, which we have now. So it's right now it's 11,000 square feet. We just expanded into that. We're about to expand out and double the business or double the size in January of this year, which we're super stoked about. But so the detailing shop's like my main shop. I grew that shop with Jim Hutton and Mike Fitzarney and a couple
Mm-hmm.
of the other, a couple of our techs, Vince, Felipe. I mean, we have 20 guys now that are working there. But that,
Jeez, full
yeah,
full. So 20 guys that are part time and full time, or mostly full time?
I only hire full time.
Oh wow,
Yep, I
nice.
don't hire. My mindset is if I have 40 billable hours, I need somebody to replace that. If there's 25 billable hours, I want to grow it to be 40. Right. So we might
Okay.
start them part time for the first 6 weeks, but mindset again is they're going to be full time, and that's their understanding too. So I don't know. There's something about part time I can't justify like, oh, you're going to come on Monday and then Thursday and then like maybe on a Friday if we need you. Right. I'm just like, no,
Right.
40 hours. Let's get to that and do that.
Which
So
helps them because that's better security, which gives them more, loyalty and time to learn and time to practice, even if they're a little slower at first.
yep.
Because then, even for those 40 hours, maybe you're getting 25 of productivity out of it, but then you're getting 50 worth of productivity out of that 40, not too long.
100%. Yeah, and I'm the kind of guy that likes to sit back and watch. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
not like, I don't want to hire somebody and fire them after 2 months or even 6 months. Like I'm giving you, like it took me years. It takes all of us years, right, to be able to actually do a car properly or start thinking like somebody needs you to think when you're about to go and attack a car. Like, it took me years of that craft. So I have to have that same respect for them too. So I'm willing to give them time. And you could typically tell, like I could tell fairly quickly, is this person going to rock it out or not? But all 20 people aren't techs. So we have, full-time marketing, full-time photographer, full-time videographer, 2 people up front, full-time accountant now, myself, and then the rest are techs.
And you're not detailing, right? You don't detail anymore.
No, I haven't touched a car in a little over probably 2.5, 3 years. So I started working on the business. So once we got into our new location in 21, so in 2020, I started transitioning into front of house, managing just the clients, managing the business. And then I replaced that with Mike in about 2020, meaning the client front, the sales side of things. So all I could do was bigger picture. I started going after the bigger picture, and then it was just putting everybody in their place. Like, meaning we have to have a manager, we had to have, for the shop, like general manager, we had to have a front of house manager, then we had to have a manager for each department, and then it trickles down effect, right? So the org chart, as they call it too, the organizational chart, built that out, and I just followed that, and I just let people make. I wanted everybody to be 85% of my expectations for them, and if they could hit 85%, that's 110% of the client's expectations. So will they ever be 100% of what Grant wants them to be? Absolutely not. At least not right away. But they are like 500% of what I ever thought they would be, because they're awesome now. So I don't spend much time at the detail shop anymore. They call me the solutionist. They call me with a problem. I give them a solution, come up with a solution, come up with a game plan, and that's that. And that's kind of transitioned into Power Moves Consulting and my consulting side of working, with the awesome people over at You're Able. That's allowed me with a lot of free time to go and do that. So my consulting side is where I help small businesses, detail shops, particularly in expedited growth. How do you get to where we were in such a short amount of time? And we did, we hit the 7-figure mark at year 3, like from going from 30 grand to 7 figures. Like, that was a very quick transition. I thought that was slow. I was like, damn, I wish I would have done this. But everyone's like, dude, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't like, so that's kind of how like the revenue side of things scale. But then I realized, okay, we hit $1 million, but we didn't have any profitability there, right? Million in, million out. So that really messed with me, because I was like, I thought the 1 million mark was where you're going to have freedom, and I was totally wrong. So that's why I went back to the book and started worrying about, okay, let's see if we get $1 million in profit, not $1 million in revenue. And that shifted everything then again for the business and allowed us to actually get to where we are today. But
and did you fix that with process? How did you fix the profitability problem?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was definitely process, but honestly, it was what we were charging. So I go for average cost per vehicle. So I don't look at each vehicle specifically. Like, if we have 1,000 vehicles that come in each quarter, I don't look at, that one car that we lost on, or even the week. Like, we have, we average about 65 cars a week. So I'm like, okay, if it's 65 cars, like, I'm not worrying about the 5 cars that we lost on. I'm worrying about the 60 cars that we win on. So I call it, the average per vehicle. So if you have 1,000 cars that are coming in that produced $100,000, that means you're averaging at $1,000 or $100 per car, right? So at the time in 2020, we were averaging like $674 per vehicle average cost. We were able to get that from $674 to $1,200 or to $1,100 and like $1,160 to now almost $1,400 per vehicle average cost. So every car that comes into our shop, we're averaging $1,400 revenue off every vehicle. That's all it is. We're doing more cars, or doing less cars, or the same amount of cars at almost double the price. So it was just, I didn't value what we were doing as much as our clients and our team did. So I was like, how am I going to sell a $15,000 job? How am I going to sell a $6,000 PPF in a coding job? There's no way. But when I did the dollar cost average, I was like, oh, it's no brainer. All I got to do is add an extra $100 to each car, $200, $300. So we're doing the same amount of cars now, just double the price. That's produced the profitability that we needed it to be. And then we dialed some other micro things in as well.
Yeah. And that's not just a matter of, now we were charging this amount and now we're charging this amount. Part of that is through diversification of services too, right? Is that kind of how, because you offer pretty much everything, right?
Yeah. Paint protection film, ceramic coating, standard detailing. We're bringing a window tint in-house now full time. We tried vinyl wraps. That just doesn't, there's no money to be made there.
Just because it takes too long and it's too
long. Yeah. And the amount you got to pay for a good guy. Like, so we pay really well, right? So that's the other side of it too. I like to overpay. Like, I never want somebody to ever have to walk into my office and say that they deserve more. I always want to be able to provide them with a raise, not them ask for one. So we
Right.
always overpay. We take care of our guys really, really well. That's why nobody really leaves our shop, because we have a great environment. We have a family, right? So
Which is
super
part of the
exciting.
problem in detailing, right? Like, how many stories do you hear that, I had one good guy, but he came in and he learned everything he could learn from me and then started his own shop, right? Like,
Dude, all the time.
it's like you have to, I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and it's like, if you make it so that, whether, like, every different people have entrepreneurial spirit, right? Some
Yep.
people just want to do that, but most of the time they do it because they want more money, they want more freedom, they want more, reward from their jobs and all that. So you have taken steps to make sure that that doesn't happen. Very, I'm sure it still happens, but very, very rarely, because it's, why would I go anywhere else? Grant totally takes care of me. I'm part of this family. I love my job. Why would I want to go try to do this on my own, right?
Yeah, and my whole belief too is if they leave, it's my fault. Like legitimately,
Yeah.
it's my fault. So if they go somewhere else, it's 100. That's Grant's fault that they went somewhere else. It's nobody else's fault. Like that falls back on me, right? There,
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to keep them. Like clients are completely replaceable. We could replace every single one of our clients right now and have somebody new walk in the door. Your team, your family, like
Yeah.
that's not replaceable ever. So you got to keep them as long as you possibly can forever. Like I would never let, like me and my siblings are so damn close. Like I would never let a relationship go away. It doesn't matter what it
Right.
costs me. Right. I'll do
Yeah.
everything in my power to make sure that my family and I stay super close. Same goes for at work. Like I have the same mentality there too. So if it's gonna take me an extra 20 grand, now granted, Kevin, like the first couple of years there was no money, right? It was all
Right. Yeah. You can't just pay a detailer $85,000.
no.
It's,
You build your way up.
it's
Yeah, you build your way up there. But it was all like complete. Like at the beginning, it was like vision, vision, vision. Trust me, be by my side. I'll get you there. Like I was not lying, right? I will. I am going to promise you this. And I am going to make sure that I get you there. And when I get you there, let's have a drink, right? Let's have a little whiskey. Let's have some fun. But I promise you, I'll get you there. It was all vision the first couple of years, and then once Jim Hutton came on board, that definitely helped out a lot. Because he's an OG in this industry. Like we got an all
yep.
star on our team. And once
Yep.
we had the all
I
star,
love I love Jim. Say hi for me, please.
oh well,
I'm not sure if he wants to hear hi from me, but I love him.
no, he will. He will. I told him I was actually coming on this with you. He told me to tell you hi as well.
Oh, nice.
So that was kind of it, and the detailing shop kind of just went, from there, and I allowed everybody to make the decisions they wanted to make. I was like, I'm the total opposite of micromanaging. Just if I want you to fail often, but I don't want you to fail twice, right? So
Yeah.
once you do it, let's
In the
learn
same way, right? Yeah.
the same way, yeah. And if you do it, if you fail in that kind of the same way, but it's a little different this time, well, then we just got to relearn it again. That's not a big deal. Like I don't mind you asking questions or failing multiple times. Just I don't want it to be a big failure multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And if it is, if we start to see that, then there's a process we had to put in place. So you asked about processes and stuff like that. Like our process is basically just it's the end. All we care about is the end result. I don't care how you get there. I don't care how long it takes you to get there. All I care about is the end result the same for each person in our shop. Like a lot of guys and gals will look at, oh my God, I got to cut this job back by 30 minutes or an hour and a half or 2 hours. And you do the math and you're like, well, if you're paying this dude $25 an hour and it's a $3,000 job or $2,000 job and you want to cut it by 2 hours, you're telling me that you want to save $50 to get a job done quicker so that your
Yeah.
team is going to be overworked and they're sweating and then they're going to leave because you're overworking them and paying them less. Like,
And they're gonna miss something like
oh,
that. You can't just. It's not magic, right? Like you don't wave a magic wand and gain 20% time savings.
correct. And I'm definitely the biggest critic by far. My team will tell you that, but they're the biggest critic of me too. So we share. Like no one calls me the boss, right? They do it as a joke, but I don't want to be called the owner. I don't want to be called the boss. I love when people walk in, and I'm standing at the front desk and they ask for Mike or they ask for Claire, or they ask for Jim. Like I love that. I love that people don't have to walk in and be like, "Where's Grant?" or "Where's the owner?" Right? Screw
Right.
that. I don't need to be the owner. Like we're all working for the same team. We all like I am going to provide myself with a raise if I deserve it. I'm also going to provide myself with firing myself too if I don't deserve that job. Right. So I keep myself to the same standards as everybody else there. We're all working for the same goal. And yes, it's to make more money 100%, but it's also to have a major impact too on our local community, which we've done really well at as well.
And how does that manifest itself? What kind of what does that look like?
So we have this thing called Tacos and Tailpipes. So we have this car show called Tacos and Tailpipes, and we wanted to do a car show, but based around community. So we started putting a lot of our funds. So we basically came up with a budget for the year on what do we want to give back. which actually Chris does as well with Detailer's Roadmap. I know
Mm-hmm.
that he's got a specific amount of money each year that all you guys give back to the community, which is awesome. But Tacos and Tailpipes was a really cool thing for us because we were able to give back to a local family. I actually started with Dave Portnoy when he did the what was the business raising that he did during COVID? Oh my god, I can't even think about it so long ago. But anyway, you donate and he would give it to pizzerias and help businesses out that needed money. So that was our
Mm-hmm.
first show that we did, and we raised money for that. It was like $1,500, and then we did it for one of my teachers I actually grew up with that had ALS or has ALS, and we were able to get it. Like the car show was booming at that point, and we were able to raise him some serious coin. And then we had a family last year who a mother and son lost. So the mother and son on Christmas Day, their house goes up on fire from a Christmas tree. It was a mom, a dad, and their three kids. The mom, the dad, and the oldest son, Brady, get out of the house, and the dad realizes his two younger boys are still in the house. So he runs back into the house, runs up the stairs. Unfortunately, he and the other two boys didn't make it out.
Oh
They
my
found
gosh.
the father at the top of the stairs, actually on top of the one son, and like they like the family was lost everything. Not only their
Mm.
family, but they lost their house. They lost like it was a mom and their son Brady. So we raised money for them last year. Got them some serious coin, and then this year as well. And everything goes back. We don't even market Menard doing it. Like this is just Tacos and Tailpipes, a great place for a worthy cause, but great people, great cars. So this year we found out this guy Michael, who's a local or a local fireman for Northampton Township, got diagnosed with cancer last year. He's in his 20s, diagnosed with cancer last year, and then just lost his house to a fire. A fireman lost his house to a fire,
Jeez.
living on his friend's couch now because he has nothing. Right. So this dude is just like the last couple of years has just drained this guy. And he's the kind of guy that gives like he's the one saving people and now he needs saved. So we're
Yeah.
helping him out. Tacos and Tailpipes is now June 10th. So that's been a great way to do it. Local charities. I mean, I give back all the time. Michael Abens has actually taught me how to do that really well. You know, from Michael Abens from Your Able, like
Mm-hmm.
he's the biggest giver I've ever met in my life. Like that dude will legitimately give everything away to help
Yeah.
somebody out. So once I met him a couple years back, that completely changed my whole mentality on who I give to, not why I give, but who I give to, and
Mm-hmm.
we just give as much as we possibly can now.
That's awesome, man. That's super inspiring because it's some, we can be so self-focused, right? And so,
Big,
if but the thing I've all, and I've made a ton of money, spent a ton of money, made no money. But the best thing about having money is giving it away.
100%.
Honestly, like it's the power to do that or the freedom to do that, which we can all give a little bit, no matter what. Most people, but yeah, that being able to help people and giving some of that away is definitely something that's super
Yeah.
enriching.
Well, Kevin, I mean, it's funny you said it at the beginning of this, but it was actually hugs. Like that's where it started. Like I started just walking up to people, and I'm a big person of emotions and personal connection, and I can read
Hmm.
people pretty well. So when you see somebody like even at a grocery store that is having a tough day, just to walk up and not even say hello, and it's kind of a little creepy sometimes, but just to give them a hug, like and you just like tears fall or just
Yep.
like laughter or whatever it is, and you just walk up and say, hey, can I just give you a hug, like that? That's a phenomenal way of giving back without actually being monetary, right?
Yeah.
Like when just walking up to somebody, you just know, like you hear the stories of in San Francisco at the bridge where people are walking across and jumping to their death, and all they ask for anybody that's been saved, the first thought that they had when they jumped was regret. The
Hmm.
second one was, hey, all I needed was somebody just to say hello or look at me or smile on my
Yeah.
walk over, right? Like
Which
they
is
were
so
so,
tough right now. I mean, now
oh,
it's just the vitriol of society is just so bad
oh, it's sad.
now, and I think there's that vocal minority really that's so angry overshadows the people that genuinely want that human connection, regardless of political party or ideology or any of that kind of stuff. People just want that human connection a lot, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I go for every day. That's my talk about passions. Like that's not even my passion. That's just what's in my soul. Like it's
Yeah.
human connection. So if I can connect with a million people, my wife hates it because when we go to restaurants, like I try to connect with everybody there. Like I don't talk. Like if we're sitting at a bar, give me less than 5 minutes. Like I'm talking to the people next to me, and I don't mean
Yeah.
to. It just happens. But it's just like human connection is so powerful, especially when you get it on both ends. Right when you
Yeah.
actually you give and you receive,
Right.
that's when you truly can feel the power of what human nature is all about.
Hmm.
Um, but you really just don't like on the everyday. I mean, you know this. Like on the everyday, it's very tough to find somebody that can let all those things go that you just spoke about, and actually only care about who are you and who am I, and how can we just love each other forever. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the power of human connection right there. My brother Nick does really well at that. That's kind of his whole life journey now. His whole North Star is human connection. Like he's traveling the world right now. He's in India. He's in India, then London, like doing breath work, and he met this beautiful woman, Dulce, who's like a world renowned yoga instructor, and she's awesome by human connection. And he gave up everything. My brother was killing it, and sold everything. Sold his house, sold his cars. All he had was his dog and a bag. And like overnight, like I even went to long story, but overnight just gave it all up, jumped in his Jeep, built out a 1976 Airstream. He's 6'5". He's an inch taller than me.
Oh, wow.
And building and living in a 20-foot Airstream. Went to San Diego, just drove across the country, went to San Diego. Now met the love of his wife over there, or love of his life, who's technically his North Star wife, and has been living in this camper at the top of a mountain since, and just having the absolute time of his life, which is so cool because it was never about money, because he doesn't have any, and he'll be the
Right.
first person to say that, but it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, that's a super brave choice. Obviously, he was single at the time, which makes it a little bit
Yes.
easier when you don't have to explain that to a spouse or whatever. And
No, he was actually dating somebody. Serious.
oh, he was. So he had to drop that too.
That's
Oh,
why he
wow.
went to San Diego, because that's where she lived. So he was like, oh, what? Yeah. And they ended up not, once he was going through the journey, that was it. Okay, of course, dude. I told him he was like, pardon my language, but effing nuts. Like, I was like, dude,
Yeah.
you're crazy. But he supported me when I needed support, when I started the business. Like, he was one of the two people that supported me 100%, like just drove me to be success, or whatever I wanted, whatever I viewed as success. He just, and still to this day does. So I had, like, just like I was saying, like two people loving each other and just supporting each other. There was no option but for me to do the same to him.
Right.
Nobody in his circle understood it. He grew dreadlocks out. Like, it's awesome. Like, Nick is just such a soulful, cool dude. He always has been, though, but I had no choice but to support that, just like he had supported me.
I mean, that's a cool journey. It's not for me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably not for you either, but if that's what fits his, soul and his life and what he wants to do with his time, and if that's what's rewarding to him, then that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I never understood people, like, unless you're hurting somebody, I really don't care what you do necessarily, as long as it's not really something that's going to impact me directly. Feel free to follow your own dreams. Like, it doesn't hurt me that your brother's out there in an Airstream at the top of the mountain. Like, who cares? Like, that's awesome
Yeah.
for him to
Cool
be able
story.
to do his stuff. Yeah.
What kind
I
of
mean,
people?
Go ahead.
What kind of people do you vibe with typically?
I vibe with pretty much everybody. Like, I don't know, like, if you've noticed this, we've known each other for a while, but like, I've always used the term I'm Switzerland, right? Like, cause I've always tried to get along with everybody that I meet. I'm an introvert. Like, I'm really not an extrovert. I always joke and say I'm an introvert, but I play an extrovert on the internet because most people wouldn't believe that I'm pretty introverted.
Yeah.
But I'm like you. Like, I grew up really fast. My mom was completely abandoned me. I basically raised myself from the age of 7. Kind of stole money out of her purse. She was an alcoholic, all that stuff. But so I kind of had to get into that same, you learn those people skills, because we used to live, basically I moved every 6 months to a year from the time I was 6 until I was about 13, because whatever guy she was shacking up with, that's where we lived. But so I was in like 9 different schools, and you become really good at being a chameleon. Not in a poor sense, not in like a fake mask kind of I'm here to manipulate people sense, but in a way that, like, you learn these skills to be able to figure out a way to meet people where they are, right? Like, I feel like that's a big skill for you, is like, whether it's a truck driver or a CEO of a pharmaceutical company or a cop or a fireman or a detailer or whoever, you have that ability to get on their level and to find that little part of them that is also part of you, that then you can connect on those little parts.
100%. You got spot on.
Yeah, that seems like something that you're really good at. And that's basically my one of my biggest strengths is to, because I mean, I have car guy friends, I have CEO friends, I have TV friends, I have detailer friends and people that have pastors. I have people that have no idea what I do, but like we can always find something to connect over, and that's what you're talking about, that human connection. And that's something that is, you're probably an extrovert, which means it comes more naturally to you, but which is nice. But in me being an introvert is something I kind of have to work on a little bit. My biggest struggle is not seeing people as an obstacle, quite honestly.
Yep.
So and so that's something that we do. So given all that, this is a good segue into this, but there are not a lot of people that are like you, um, in terms of the ability to connect with people on that level, the love of connecting with people on that level, which then makes you a very good salesperson, right? So obviously, for you to succeed in pharmaceutical, that's a huge requirement. And so people may sit back and go, well, that's great for Grant to be able to do 7 figures in 3 years, but like I have a hard time talking to people, or I don't really even know where to start in trying to sell people on multiple services and that kind of thing. Talk a little bit about that, like kind of your advice, because you're the consultant, advice for these people that might have that mindset, because I can kind of hear those wheels turning for people, because it's really easy for people to say, well, Kevin's done this and he has this success. Grant's done this and has this success, but that's them. They have XYZ that's made that, my favorite phrase is, that must be nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Like, yeah. So which is the dumbest thing ever.
Only you would know.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you don't know what my life has looked like for the last 38 years to get to where I am, and in your case, losing your dad at 13. People don't know that.
No, they look at right now. It's like, dude, right now doesn't matter. It's a journey to get here. I mean, It's cool, right? But it's the journey. Yeah, you're so right. So to answer that question, so on the sales side of things, like if someone's introverted or if they're very uncomfortable, so I actually speak and talk and coach a lot of people that have this exact question. It's like, hey, dude, I'm just not good at talking to people, or I'm just not good at building a conversation. Like, what do I do? So there's 2 ways to look at this. First off, it's mindset. It's none of your business, and this is what, like, I live my life off this mindset. It's none of your business what other people think about you.
Mm-hmm.
Like what other people think about you is none of your business. Like, you have no right to know what another person thinks about you.
Which is a better way to look at it than saying, I don't give an F what other people think about me, right? Like it's a different, like you said, mindset. That's a better way to look at it.
Yeah, because a lot of people, it's like, oh, when I send this post out, or when I send this email, or I send this text, what's that person thinking? Right? Or what's going to happen on the other line, or what's their reaction going to be? It's like, it's none of your business. Who cares? At the end of the day, who really cares? Is it really going to affect you in the long term? No. Okay. So that's the first mindset. But when it's speaking, I always say, go on your first date. Like, think of the first date, depending who's watching this, if it's a male, female, whatever your sexual preference is, you're on your first date. And think how awesome it was, and how many questions you guys asked each other, and how that first conversation was hours and hours and hours long, right? And you sat there at dinner, and when you connected to somebody, purely connect to somebody. Sometimes, like, other dates, you're like, this just isn't working.
Yeah,
right? Super awkward. Like, yeah, it's not happening. Okay, but you knew that right away, and you tried, and it was just not there. But just remember those first dates where, no matter if you're introverted or extroverted or scared or just so outgoing, that you just had that one time that you just had a phenomenal conversation with somebody that you never wanted to end, and you were asking them and became, keyword, super curious about who they are and why they make the decisions that they made and what their life was all about and how they got to where they are today. In sales, it's exactly that. You're just super curious in that first conversation that you have with the person. And detailing, it's, okay, why did they decide to call me? Right? Like, that's my first question I want to know. Like, how did you hear about me? How did you hear about us?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what got you to pick up that phone and take time out of your day to call? Like, and that gives you a ton of data, which we could always get to on another point, but it gives you a ton of data. Was it Google, Instagram, Twitter, referral? Right? I love referrals, right? Because that's super easy.
That's low-hanging fruit right there, right?
Oh my God. And I built the company off referral base, but that was it. Right. And it was like, okay, how did you hear about us? Why did you buy this car? Why did you choose that color? Right. It's what are you using it for? Do you have kids that are going to be in it? Are you taking it to football practice? Are you taking it to work? Are you going on a date tonight? Right. That's the coolest thing. So I'm big on gifting too. When people tell you they're going on a date that night, ask them, oh, where are you guys going? And write it down. Oh, we're going to, Buck Deli. Oh my God, what time are you guys going? Oh, we're going at 7:00. Oh, cool. right? And you call that place and you say, hey, I want to buy them an appetizer. I want to buy them their first round of drinks. Just let them know Grant from Menard. Here's what they look like. I have a picture of them because we're Facebook friends now. I have a picture of them. I'm going to text it to you right now. You do this to the hostess. I'm going to text it to you right now. Here's my credit card. Whatever they want, whatever it is, just make sure that I take care of it for them, right? And just let them know that Grant from Menard took care of their meal tonight, or an appetizer, or that drink, right? But if I never got curious, and that's when I saw the true power of curiosity with every client, because if I never got that information, I would never know. But it's the impact that I had that they'll remember forever. Because a lot of people just see us as detailers, right? Oh, you guys just clean cars and you just make them shiny and pretty. But when you get the curiosity out of that and you're like, oh, you connect on something, just like you talked about, Kevin, how you can connect with one thing with somebody outside of what we do. That's the number one goal with detailing. Most likely, you're going to have something that you can discuss with somebody and remember about that for a couple minutes. And I'm talking like 10 minutes max. Okay. So if you can have a conversation with somebody for 10 minutes, you're guaranteed to turn that into a sale at some point. It might not be that first car, but it's definitely gonna be that second, third, or fourth. Right. But curiosity is the number one thing. Pretend like you're going on your first date. Ask them all the questions. They're actually calling you to ask the questions. Flip the script. Ask them all the questions. Find out about who they are as a person. Find out about what they like. Typically, when you ask, the like main questions I ask, how do you hear about us? What do you do for a living? Right? What are you using your car for? So, what are you using your car for? Oh, I use it to take my kids to school. Oh, how many kids do you have? What school are you taking them to? Right? What sports do they play? Okay. Sooner or later, you're going to find a connection with another client potentially that oh my God, your kids are on the same team, right?
Oh, right.
Right? Do you know Michael Bowman? Oh, do you play on the same baseball team? Whatever it might be. Right now, you're building connection there, maybe not with you and that person, but with that person and another person that they know. Right? You're basically the center of that. So curiosity, first date, that's a great way to do it. Have some main questions that you like to ask, the kind of leadway into those conversations with the people. If you get a little bit guarded when somebody calls in, before you take a breath, find a trigger that works for you. Like for me, I'll just spread my arms nice and wide, right? I'll get myself nice and loose, like before this call, right? And I relaxed myself and I was like, okay, now I'm centered and ready for this conversation. I specifically do that before conversations that I know I'm going to have with somebody, right? It might be a cell phone call, might be a podcast, whatever it might be. I spread it nice and wide, I get ready, and now I've centered myself and let everything go that was just on my mind. And I'm ready to have a super powerful conversation with somebody. But curiosity, first date, have some main pointed questions. That's a great way to kind of lead yourself into a conversation. And then the other side of it, Kevin, to sales side is never try to sell. Like we don't try to sell. I don't try to sell. Nobody tries to sell. I'm a great salesman because I don't do that.
Right.
The only thing I'm looking for is to get to know more about you. And hopefully I can share a little bit about myself during that conversation. But once you build connection with them, that lasts forever. A sales transactional, right? That's $1 for a service that will come and go. Just like I said, you could fire those anytime. But a connection never leaves. It's there forever. So if you can build a connection, that will typically turn into a sale. But at the end of the day, my conversations are never built around how much money can I get out of this person or what can I sell them on. It's can I build trust? Big word. Can I build trust with this person? Can I build human connection with this person? And can I build a friendship with this person that will last forever? That's my goal in every single call. It's never to be like, oh, I'm going to pitch them on a $5,000 PPF and coding job. Like that happens because that's why they call you, and you're going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
You can't talk to them about them until you build the trust, and you'll know on a conversation when you hit it to do it. So there's that side of it too. Build a connection and then stick to it. It's going to be super freaking awkward for the first 30, 40, 50 calls, maybe even 100 people that you talk to. You got to break through it. Like you got to get past those barriers, and it's going to be awkward. Like just like you said, Kevin, it's still awkward. Like it's still pain points for you, right? When you go out into bigger crowds, when you go into talking to people, it's still pain points to you, but you broke through it at some point. And now you're a little bit more comfortable than you were at the beginning. And that comfortability allows you to now have connections with more people than you were ever able to before. So
yeah, and you could kind of put on that persona, right? Like my persona when I'm at SEMA is different than my persona when I'm home with Michelle, right? Like that is it's not, and it's again, it's a genuine part of my personality that I tap into and that I've trained myself to do. And so the same thing, what you're talking about, even if your natural tendency is to not have conversations and do that in-depth communication and in-depth connection, you can teach that part. Everybody has that part of their personality. Sometimes you need to teach yourself how to get there. And that's a lot of time what you talk about with mindset and that, all that concept.
Yeah, before you step into places, like, do you have like some internal conversation with yourself that's pretty typical before you're stepping into these places, like SEMA?
For me, I'm such a compartmentalized person that I just can turn it on and off.
Cool.
But that's something I've learned how to do. It's like people that, I've got quite a few people that are TV friends or entertainers or whatever. And you can physically, if you have a relationship with these people on the side, which I'm sure you have these too, you can actually see that switch flip in them. Because I can
Wow.
always tell, are you Joe Bob, are you Joe Bob the entertainer right now, or are you Joe Bob my friend? And they are almost always people that are in the entertainment industry. It's always two people,
Hmm.
Garth Brooks, what does he call? He has
Like a stage
I
name
can't.
for himself?
Yeah, he has an internal name for himself
Wow.
that he created this character so that he could be that guy that's freaking swinging from ropes over the crowd while he's in one of the best live shows you could go to is Garth Brooks. But he talks about how he has this alter ego basically that he created in order to be that person that the crowd needs him to be, because it's a little bit different than what his normal, he's from Yukon, Oklahoma, which is a small town in Oklahoma by Oklahoma
Wow.
City, which I grew up in Oklahoma, so I kind of get that part of it. But so that, I mean, that's, dude, I would buy something from you right now. I don't even, need my car detailed there, but
Thanks.
go ahead and
Appreciate
go ahead and sell me something. But no, and I think that part of, I talk a lot about ideal customer avatar and understanding the pain points of each customer and all that. And what you're doing without, and it's even better from a sales standpoint is you really are identifying the things that are important, quote unquote, pain points, um, of those people that are calling you needing your service. So for your example, if it's a soccer mom driving a Denali XL, she probably might be interested in one of your interior coating packages. Not that that's your intention to sell her that,
it. Correct.
but if she's driving something that may not benefit from a full frontal PPF, then don't try to sell it to her. Like, that's not for her. If she chooses to do that, because again, freaking Denali XL is $118,000 now. But
Yeah.
I mean, that helps you get to know each individual person without just assuming that they need not everybody needs every service that you provide at every level you provide
Did you say full frontal talking about soccer mom?
it. Full frontal PPF. I mean, if you want to offer full frontal as a separate service, I think if you're in Nevada, that's probably legal, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure
that's
it's
that
legal in.
discount. Discount
I'm
went
not
away.
sure it's legal in Pennsylvania, and might get the crap beaten out of you by said soccer mom's husband. Uh,
Oh, good.
that's funny.
But Kev,
Um,
you're so right. And the cool part is it doesn't just tell the story for the client, right? So you can get an understanding. Okay, it's soccer mom. She probably wants an interior coating, right? But you can also tell the story, like when your team's all pissed off that you just brought in this piece of crap Yukon that's destroyed. You can walk in and say, hey, yeah, this mom just had a baby. This is her third kid that she's got right now. She's taking her kids to a soccer game. Like, we got to make this car right. Okay,
yeah,
so it's a shift not just for the person that you're talking to and what actually do they want because of who they are as a person and what their needs are, but it's also for your team as well. Your team needs to know the story. Like, the whole ideal at the end of each conversation is, what's that story? Like, what is that story that I now need to go, or our team needs to go and learn about for this person specifically? If we know that this person cleans their house 17 times a day, like, it's going to be like, we have to make sure that every single part of this car, not just the car, but the appearance of when they're walking up to their car at our facility is perfect. Like, each
yeah,
bottle is tilted the right way. So we'll make sure that we walk through all the different parts of our facility to make sure for those specific clients that everything is in place. Like that there's not even a polisher holder without a polisher in it. Right. And these are all the things that you do on the back end to continue to have that or that connection with that person to make sure that they come back because they feel super comfortable with you and with your facility. But it's a team, right? You got to have that
yeah,
conversation with the team too.
yeah, and everybody has to be willing to go through that quote unquote trouble, right? Like, this just becomes part of your process, because it could be if you're not on board with the whole game plan, that would be super irritating. To, like, if you
100%.
didn't really understand why we're doing it and the meat behind it and why you would want to do that to help that customer.
Yeah.
then that's something that they may not buy into. That's, I mean, dude, that's amazing advice. Trying to think, as far as like, how would you, if somebody's just kind of getting into it, just kind of starting with their detail shop, kind of where you were coming out of your mom's garage, maybe skip the 8 Jeeps in her front yard section, but what advice are you giving to guys and girls that want to transition from either just getting started with their side hustle, or kind of ready to take that leap? And I should say one thing, not everybody needs to be a Grant Menard making,
No.
multi-million-dollar shop with 20 employees. Like, that may not be your goal, and it doesn't necessarily need to be your goal. Right. So that's the first thing I would say. But what kind of advice are you giving to people like that?
And Kevin, my idea was never 20 people either. I just like to surround myself with really cool people. So
Nice.
that's how it grew up to be 20, right? So it was never like, oh, I want a 20-person shop, and like I didn't even want a multi-million-dollar shop. Like it just happened. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do it. Sometimes things just happen and you kind of have to go with the flow, but 100%. So it depends where you're at. That's the biggest factor. So like in my consulting side, the power move side, like the first couple of calls is like, I need to know everything about you and your business. Right. So this is going to be like, my answer to this is not isolated to a specific, like it's not, I gotta put this the right way. I'm going to try to make this for everybody, but it doesn't work for everybody. Right. So the biggest thing that I learned when I was looking back, because I did some of that, journey where I went back to the beginning and tried to figure out, okay, how do we get to where we are today? Because if I'm going to start teaching people how to do this, I had to understand it. The biggest fact is that when we stopped becoming a detail shop and we started to become an experience-based shop, or even an experience-based company, and our product was the detail, but it wasn't why people came to us. They came to us because of the experience that we provided to them, not because of the job that we did, even though it was super high end. I call it becoming the Disney of detailers.
Oh, nice.
At Disney, it's not the $175 that you're spending to get into the park, right? That's just transactional, right? It's experience you have with Mickey Mouse and seeing your son or daughter walk up to the castle and having them walk around with their Mickey Mouse lollipops and having them go on all the rides and those experiences and those memories that you have at Disney. I wanted to do that for the detail shop. So it's when I stopped worrying about, and it was once I got out of it, right? So it's sooner or later you got to realize, do you want to actually run the shop or do you want to be in the shop, right? So do you just want, do you love to work on cars and all you want to do is work on cars, or do you actually want to grow it and sell and talk to people all day? And it's not a bad thing to work inside the shop. Like it's not. You just got to build a team around you then that can support cars coming into the shop, so you can stop being a one-man show. But right. Once we realized that you being a Disney experience or being an experience-based company first and a product company second, a detail shop second, that's when we saw true expansion. Now, with that being said, you need revenue to come in. So to dial back, if it's just like, if you have no money right now, you're just getting into it, you want to know, oh my God, Kevin and Grant, I can't get clients in the door. I don't know what's going on. I've tried Google ads, not working. I've tried Facebook ads, not working. I got the website, I got everything. The easiest thing, this goes back years ago, and we still do this today, is to write a handwritten note on a postcard and to go and hand deliver it into a mailbox. Because let's go back and think about this. Did you get your mail today?
Mm-hmm.
Right. When you walk into the mailbox, was there anything that was in the mailbox that had handwritten script on it versus printed script?
Yeah, it's very rare that you do it unless it's computer generated handwriting, right? Like you get that. Yeah.
But even then, okay, so even computer generated or actual handwriting, there's a shift that goes on internally that is super excited. Like you're like, ooh, what's this?
Yeah, like I see that and I'm like, holy crap, who's this from? Right. Yeah.
Right.
Usually it's for Michelle. No one ever sends me handwritten notes, but usually it's for Michelle.
Maybe Michelle can send you some then. Yeah. We'll get back to the love letter days, right?
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. So it's going back to that, like that emotion that happens that when someone puts something in your mailbox and you open up and you're like, oh my God, it's a letter from my grandpa just saying hello, or it's a letter from my mom and I'm at school and she just wanted to check in. Like those are so cool, right? And there's because you don't get them anymore. It's not there. So I was like, well, screw it. I'm just gonna start writing handwritten notes because I knew that emotion when I would get them. So I just started doing it in return. So you just write handwritten notes and you go up to houses, and here's kind of the process around this, especially for clients and getting more people in the door and kind of building revenue. I always went around neighborhoods and I would go up and down streets and I would drive my car, extremely creepy, especially on weekends, because you would know the people that are taking care of their car, especially before 11 o'clock, because that's typically golf hour at 11 o'clock. So you're before that and they're taking their cars out. And who are the people that are washing their cars in their driveway? Those are people that actually appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let's take it a step further. Who's got the nice landscaping, right? If they got nice landscaping, they're spending money on appearance. They're going to want their cars to do the same. Who's got the super nice yard with the pool in the back? Who's got the flag on the outside? Do they have chalk in the driveway? Typically, it means kids. Is there a minivan outside their house with a gate in the back with a playground? Typically, they probably have kids, right? So you can start cultivating a story around a person that you don't even know just based off the appearance of their home. And on that note, you're right. Hey, it's Grant from Menard Premium Detailing. Although it's not true, it will become true. I detail all your neighbors' cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just want the opportunity to say, I saw you have a minivan and I saw the chalk in your driveway. My guess is you have a couple of McDonald's French fries under those seats. I'll love the opportunity to clean it up for you. Give me a call. And you put this in their mailbox, right? And if they have a Penn State flag or Ohio State flag or a Southern Cal flag outside their house, hey, let's go Penn State, right? Hope they win this weekend. Or if they have a Marine flag outside the house, thank you for the service, or whoever's serving for this country or who has served for this country, just want to say thank you. Right. Yeah. So you're building connection with the person by a handwritten note that you put in their mailbox that costs you no more than 15 minutes and 15 cents for a postcard. And you put it in there and use weight. We just had a postcard come through that was 3 years old. He's had it on his fridge for 3 years. Shit you not. Jeez. Mike wrote it. So when Mike started selling, I gave him this process. Said, I'm not giving you the book. Go build your book. And he said, how do I do that? I said, you're going to write handwritten notes. We're going to Starbucks. We're just going to write handwritten notes for 3 days straight. And we did that. And I said, go pass them out. Right. But build a connection on the bottom. Mike, oh my God, I can go. But anyway, this guy put it on his fridge and called us 3 years later saying, oh, I've been meaning to call you guys. And it was 3 years later. And right, how'd you hear about us? First question. Oh, I've had this postcard that somebody wrote to me years back or 3 years ago on my fridge. Right. So if I didn't follow the process of how'd you hear about us and get super curious about how you heard about us, we would have never known that it was a postcard. And then I was able to build the connection between Mike writing the postcard, asked him what neighborhood he lived in, was able to isolate the exact house that Mike wrote the postcard to, and knew the car that he was already talking about and what he drove, even though it was 3 years prior. Right. So postcards, super easy. You don't have to talk to somebody. Doesn't matter if you're introverted or extroverted. You could still build the curiosity side of things to figure out what is the connection I can build with this person. You can have some fun with it. And regardless of the fact, you can at least give somebody a smile on their face when they open up their mailbox to see handwritten script on that letter, just like you felt, Kevin, whenever, here and there when they come in, just like I feel when I go to my mailbox. You can build that little excitement that comes with it. And that's a great way of building your client base. And then stepping out to being small, stepping into it. Do not be afraid. Like, you got to know your numbers. I was an idiot. Like, I did not do it correctly. Okay. I risked multiple times because I run much better when I have everything against me. Mm-hmm. Right. So I work personally if I have $1 million, I want to, and I have the next opportunity, I will spend $1 million and go to zero for that opportunity. Right. That is not the right way to do things.
Yeah. There's a certain, I do the same thing. So that's a certain psychosis that leads us to that.
100%, right. It is the blackjack mentality. Like, I got no more money. I've doubled my whole way up and I'm going all in. Right. But when that's one way to do things, that's how obviously you and I work. The other side of it is you can get super smart with it. Sooner or later, no matter what, every business has to at least have 3 people, no matter what. So if you're running with 1 or 2 people, like, you're 2 people away from having the littlest bit of success with that business. So the first thing is to hire 2 all-stars that are by your side and ready to build it with you and are ready to share the vision. You don't have to give them any of the business. You don't have to give them the percentage. You sometimes don't even have to pay them that well at the beginning. I mean, I didn't, because I didn't have any money. But you share the vision with them. You get them by your side. Everyone has tasks that they go after every single day. And the business will start going from there. So you got to have at least 2 other people on your side. Don't be afraid to pay them. I can break that down at a later date, but you got to have 2 people there that are going to help you so that you can go and write notes, that you can build connections, that you can answer phone calls, you can go to events, whatever it might be.
And you're tracking that data, right? I assume that you're tracking the data of who gets a handwritten note, what the address was, what kind of car, like, you have that somewhere.
We have it mentally, personally, because Mike and I can visualize it all.
Okay. But if you're not that guy, you probably want to,
Correct. If you're not that guy, you definitely track it 100%. Yeah, because we probably, I mean, realistically, he probably wrote about 1,000 cards, maybe even 1,500 or 1,200, probably about 1,000 to 1,200 cards before his book started going. Like
Mm.
before, or 1,000 cards, if 50 people call back on 1,000, right, you're converting 5%, which is not a lot. Let's say you do convert 5% off these postcards, like 50 people now that you're dealing with, now you can build those into referrals. So we ask every single client for referral every time they come in. Doesn't matter if they've been in 100 times. Hey, here's 3 business cards. If you don't mind passing this out to 3 friends that would benefit from the service, just like you have today, would be greatly appreciated. We've built this company off of referrals, and to make
Mhm.
sure that we can still support you and your cars in the future, just please pass these out to 3 friends that would also appreciate it. Right? Like that's a script. Like I've had that.
Yeah.
I can talk
I
like
heard
that.
it. I could hear it. I can see it right off the page, except for it's in
So
your head, right? Yeah.
plastic business cards, okay? Not the flimsy paper ones that break. Plastic business cards. Spend the money. You want to be a high-end detailer, get some high-end cards, okay? Get a telephone number that's not your cell phone. Get an actual business line that you can shut off at 5 o'clock, so you don't have to answer people, and you can set the boundaries that you're not going to answer them at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, because realistically, that person can wait till the morning and they're not going to go somewhere, okay?
Yeah, and I mean, dude, you can do Google Voice. I've got this app on my phone called, what is it called? Talkatone.
Talk it
I think
down.
it's called. Yeah, or something like that. And
Yeah,
it literally, they give you a phone. It's like Google Voice, but it doesn't have to be attached to your actual phone number.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so literally, I have a separate voicemail that goes on that. I can screen calls with that. I can, so because I'm in the internet retail market, so I don't want to give people my cell phone
No,
for sure. So yeah, plastic business cards. The business card thing is one that is almost unique to service industry business. Like very few people use business cards now. Like
yeah,
because you can give me your phone number, put your phone number, hand them my phone or whatever. But that tangible thing on there that makes a big
yeah.
difference.
And Kevin, I've tried, like I have the digital business card, right? I have the card that shows everything and has a website, and I send it to you, and now it becomes an app on your phone, right? So I have that. I've never seen more success come out via any of the like business card or sending over your contact information than the plastic business cards.
Yeah, I mean that's for detailing and dealing with customers directly. There's like even if they throw it away, that tactile. First of all, they're less likely to throw it away because they're like, how much did this freaking thing
I
cost?
think it's gift cards. It's hilarious. They keep it in their
Yeah.
wallets. I think it's a gift card. Awesome. I
I
know what
like
they're
it. Well,
really. Yeah.
they only cost what, 25 cents a piece or something like that.
Yeah, depending how many you buy. Yeah, I try to
Yeah.
find local shops. That's another thing too. Like I always buy local, right? So I
Hmm.
never go because again, I want to build connection locally with our community. So I only buy local. So there's local shops that definitely sell these things. You're gonna spend more,
Yeah.
but just know that when somebody actually gets to learn about you and you get to learn about them, again, connection doesn't matter if you're buying something from them or selling them on it. It still has the same end result. So then they're gonna, they built me these, and next thing you know they've sent me, oh my God, who knows how many clients throughout the years. So I spend
Yeah.
$1,000 with them each quarter. Or now it's Mike. I don't pass these out anymore. Now it's Mike and Claire. But maybe $1,000 a quarter, but that transitions into so much more just
Dude,
from
and
that.
one job, 2 jobs, and you've paid for all that, and half a job you paid for whatever the premium is to buy local.
Yep.
We live in the boonies, so I don't have as many local opportunities. I can't just go down and get most things locally just because of the service providers that we have. But yeah, if you have that option, definitely that's and chamber, like you can do the Chamber of Commerce
Yes.
thing and
Yep.
integrate with different networking groups, get on Facebook groups for your local community. I'm sure you kind
Yep.
of talk about this stuff, but it's, and then you can do real connections. They have meetups and virtual groups and everything. So there's a
100%.
ton of, but that guerrilla marketing part of it, that's just, it's essentially free other than a little bit of gas money and a little bit of postage, right?
And, yeah, and Kevin, to the side of the marketing piece too, or going out there, like you are 100% in control of your business. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
you're in control of yours. I'm in control of mine. Everybody I talk to is in control of theirs. If you actually realize that, like if I wanted to go out there, as weird as it sounds, and get $1 million today, I know 100% I can go and get that $1 million. There's
Yeah.
nothing that tells me I can't go do it. So the same goes for the other side of it. Like if I need 1,000 clients today, I'm going to go get those 1,000 clients. So there's nothing that is going to stop me from going and producing 1,000 clients today if I need to. Now there's the
Right.
want side of it. That's a little different. Do I want 1,000 clients? Hell no. Do I really want $1 million? Nope. Like I don't want to deal with that. Like I don't want $1 million sale because now I got to manage it, right? But if you're starting your business and you're like, and there's any type of, or there's anything holding you back, just know that you are in full control of that. And it goes down to mindset, like we talked about too. But if you want to go get 50 clients, go get the 50 clients. Like stop producing excuses around it. Like just go and get them. It's not that difficult. It really isn't. Once you get out there, once you break those barriers, right? Once you pass that 100th client of trying to build connections with, it's going to become a lot easier. But you got to stick to it, and you got to do it, and you got to do it often. Don't just do it for a week and then give up. Like you got to stick to it, make it part of your process, make it part of your day, make it part of your, of who you are. And then once you stick to it, it'll come natural sooner or later.
Yeah. Because there's so many guys out there that are like, what'd you do with your, I can't get any business. Well, how'd you spend your day today? Well, I was on Facebook group. I was on Detail for Dummies. I was sifting around the internet. I watched 20 YouTube videos about cats. I'm like, well, that's a hell of a lot of energy you spent completely wasting your day. Even if you cut that in half and use that to write letters and drive around and go introduce yourself to people and build those connections, that business would do much better. And I'm just as guilty as anybody. My problem is I have too many irons in the fire. I always have, and my wife yells at me, but it doesn't change. When I told my buddy this week at church, I was like, yeah, I just got this new. I'm helping my buddy with his company, and I'm gonna go work for him. And he's like, so what did you stop doing when you decided to come on? I'm like,
you didn't replace it, you just added it.
I'm like, what do you mean stop? He's like, did you stop? I'm like, what do you think? What do you so that's probably my biggest downfall, is that I have way too many things going on, but that keeps me kind of out of trouble.
Well, you're really good at buying. You're really bad at selling. Let's put it that way. All right. You can buy.
I'm really good at creating. I'm really bad at selling. That's I should have sold at least one of these brands during the height of the fake COVID automotive economy. That's for sure.
Yep.
But
so true.
But we'll get there. But I
give one more thing too about this.
Give what is. I mean, we have. I have no time limit. We're gonna go.
Okay. All right, cool. So for when you're starting to, something I wish I would have done is actually give myself a paycheck and actually look how it feels to default on a paycheck coming into your personal account, and make sure that you will never allow that to happen ever when you have a team. Not just from the default side of things, but also from what is your time worth? Because there's all these guys and gals that are working 60, 80, 100 hours, and I did it too. And at the end of the day, I'm like, well, how much are you paying yourself? Right? And they say, well, nothing. I said, well, how much is in the business account? And they're like, well, 15 grand. I'm like, so you're working for $8 an hour overtime. You're unhealthy. You're not getting good sleep. You've lost a lot of your friends. You can't afford the car you want. You can't afford to move out of your parents. You barely afford to go to SEMA. You can barely afford these conversations that we're having now that I have this information, and you're not paying yourself, but you're overworking, right? So come up with, what am I worth? That's your first question. What am I actually worth? Like there's the younger generation that's coming through right now. That's like, oh, I'm worth $100,000. Okay, well, tell me why, right?
Yeah, right.
And if you can show me that 100%, like I'll never tell somebody what they're worth. I want, like when we hire people, I don't ask them, like I don't say, oh, you're worth 25. Like this position's $25 an hour. Right? It's no, how much do you want to make? And can I afford you or not? Same conversation you're going to have with yourself for how much do you make? Like when I took a W-2 and when I started actually paying myself a paycheck, everything shifted because now it became a job. Now I'm on the same level, just like I talked about, the same wavelength as everybody else. I get paid every other Friday, just like they do. Right? The money that goes into the business account is not yours. It's the other side of it. These guys will go and put all this money into business accounts, and then they'll spend it, or they'll put their personal expenses with the business expenses. They're like, oh my God, why am I so broke? And I'm like, well, you just spent $4,700 this month on wheels and suspensions and going to dinners and taking a vacation with your girlfriend. Like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, that's why. Because if you didn't do that, your bank account would probably have 50 grand at the end of the year, which is phenomenal for having a $200,000 business, right? So when you actually pull all that out, pull your personal expenses, get a business credit card or debit card, right? At the times when you're building, you probably don't have the credit, obviously, to do that. Get a business.
By the way, Amex actually is really good about that with an EIN.
They are. Yeah, with the EIN.
They are really good at giving, and obviously, if you do any travel, tie that to your Sky Miles account. But Amex is a really.
I am a massive Amex guy. I love my Amexes. And there's two more behind.
I've got three. I've got three in mine too.
Yeah,
I got
it's
like,
endless.
yeah. Every dollar gets a couple of, now I'm platinum, so it gets like 5 miles per dollar. So we're good.
It's
But
awesome. Yeah. I'm a credit card whore. Like I love credit card points. I've dialed them in. Like the points guy. I've been following him for years. My credit
yep.
sucked. Like when I was in college, like I let some things go, and it was only $1,000 credit card. You don't realize how bad that like it messes you up for 7 years. Like you miss one
Yeah.
payment, it's a 7-year wait, right? So I didn't realize those things when I was going through school. Now I do. Like now I love credit cards. Like I just love points in general. Like it's free
Yeah.
money, especially in a business.
Yeah.
Like I love that's why I love paint protection film because they allow me to swipe that stuff on the Amex. I'm like, oh my God, and my wife and I are taking off like a month this year on vacations for free, anywhere
Yeah.
we want, right, for free, which through points. It's awesome. So
Well,
Doug,
when I did that house in Oklahoma, I renovated that house. I put everything,
yeah,
we spent all that money went through an Amex. And so, I get
great.
my companion certificate for Michelle. I get my free upgrades. I'm platinum member now. I get, so
It's awesome.
and we get, so you get free that. Yeah, definitely look into Amex small business. And if you're, depending on what your lifestyle is, you can tailor which card you want for which points, but
And
keep
ask
going.
Kevin and I. We'll send over our referral program so we can get a couple.
There you go. I'll definitely we'll add
We'll put it in the
Grant's
link.
Amex referral link to the bottom of the podcast notes.
Oh man. So, but anyway, so you got to pay yourself. Like you got to come up with, okay, what am I worth? Like, is it 50 grand a year? Is it 20 grand a year? Like, it's $100,000 a year? And then start looking at that now because that will be your first expense. Like if you're working out of a garage, you're working out of your home garage. Well, okay, if I'm bringing in $1,000 a week, but I want to make $50,000 a year, well, you're going to start grinding. You're either going to have to start charging more or you're going to have to go get more clients in the door. But there's no middle ground there. Right. So now you're like, okay, well, now I'm doing $2,000 a week. Okay. It's $104,000 a year revenue to make 50 grand. You're getting closer. You got to produce 150,000 for every 50,000. Right. So if you want to make $100,000 a year, you personally have to produce 300 grand a year for it to make sense for you to pull out $100,000. So I call it the 30-30-30 rule or the 1-1-1.
Like
dollar goes to you, dollar goes to products and expenses, dollar goes to the company's profitability. Same conversation I have with every one of my team members. Right? You're going to get paid for everything you produce. You produce 300 grand this year. You're going to get 100 grand. We're going to put 100 grand into products and expenses, and the company is going to profit 100 grand. It's 100 for 100. Dollar to you, dollar to the company. Right? That's a great way to look at it, and a very simple and easy way to look at it on the 30-30-30 rule or the 1-1-1, however you look at it, and to have that conversation with each team member. Hey, you only produced 75 grand this year. That's why you're making $12.50 an hour. That's why you're making 25 grand this year. So dollar goes to you, dollar goes to product, dollar goes to the company. You want to make more? We're going to have to get you to produce more. How do we do that? Let's have a conversation around that. Or is this just not the best position for you within this company is detailing? Maybe you should be in the marketing side of it, right? Maybe produce better there. Maybe you'll produce better in the sales side of it. Maybe you just want to be an account representative where you're just following up with people and writing handwritten notes and looking at how can we, like giftology, which is part of what we do in gifting. Like how can we come up with really cool gifts for people? So you might just not be a detailer, which is fine. It's not bad.
right.
Not a bad deal. But the 1-1-1. So when you're starting out, definitely just cut yourself a paycheck, or at least start visualizing that on what that is. Keep your personal expenses out of the business expenses. Do not let them intermingle. It is an absolute nightmare when you try to do the bookkeeping at the end of the year. It's going to cost you thousands, and there's really zero benefit to it when you're a single operator, LLC, or sole proprietor. It does not matter. Like $1 in your personal pocket or $1 in the company's pocket is still looked at the same way at the end of the year.
And when you get to a certain point, look at S Corp and make sure you hire a CPA, right? Like, but the first year that we turned S Corp, I saved like 20 grand on taxes. But
Great.
we made enough money that I can justify the insane amount of write-offs that I take. Like it's we've had that history, so that's definitely something to look at.
Write-offs aren't that sexy. Like people are like, "Oh, I love write-offs." I'm like, write-offs suck. Like I hate write-offs.
I write off everything. Like I'm writing off this pomade that went into my hair. I'm telling you right now.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm right there too. But at first, like that was the mindset, right, dude? Like all these people on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook are like, "Oh my god, write-offs are the greatest thing for a business." And it's true, but you got to produce more than your write-offs. Right?
It doesn't matter if your write-off is if your tax level is 28%. And you got to spend. So if you spend $1 for a 28-cent write-off, you still had 72 cents that you had to put in. Like that, that's no excuse. You don't spend money just for the write-off. That's the dumbest thing ever. So
No, in certain ways you can. Well, especially
yeah,
tax brackets, right? So you can get to the super high level side of things. Like if you could save 3% on 500 grand, like that's $15,000.
yeah,
That's extra $1,500 a month in your pocket. Less than that, $1,200 a month in your pocket. Like
yep.
that's like where the write offs
That's
come in.
significant. Yeah,
Yeah, that's significant. But after you get past that, it's like, okay, like what are we gonna do here? Now we need depreciations. Like I just the building we're in right now. I had to buy this building because we needed depreciations. Like there wasn't enough. Like there's all these different things that they tell you what to do, and it's like it gets overwhelming. It's
yeah.
very
And
overwhelming.
that's what I was about to say. Real estate. That's what you do, because real estate. All rich people own real estate, and and that's why rich people don't pay taxes.
Yep,
So,
it's true. And that's about Trump. Like he was straightforward. He's like, yeah, real estate.
dude, that I've been seeing that a lot. That little segment where that debate, that town hall
Yeah,
where Hillary tried to call him out on that, and he's
he
like,
shut it down.
of course, I took that loss. It's in the tax law. It's totally legal, and all your friends did it too.
Yep.
Like that's the great lie. In the middle class, poor people pay taxes.
Yep.
And rich people don't pay taxes, but
100%.
it's which is kind of crazy. Have you looked at Profit First at all?
So I looked at Profit First. I love what it offers. I love, the five different accounts. Each you
Yeah.
get your tax account, profit account, expense account, right? And I forget the other two. Was that profit?
Cost of goods sold, if that applies. Like I have cost of goods sold. I actually put my giving as one of my accounts, just because
Yep.
you have taxes and cost of goods sold and labor and your owner pay. That's at profit. Owner pay and profit are two separate things. So it's just a way. It's similar to what you're talking about. It's probably a little bit more expansive, and it's more physically logistic to where you actually have multiple accounts and all
it's
that.
5 accounts. So I had the 5 accounts. So I did follow it. Well, when I said I followed it, I read it. I was putting into action, and then personally, like, so if I don't want to do something, Kevin, I just hire somebody else to do it. Yeah, I just don't do it. Like, it's not worth my time to try to learn something that I'm just not passionate about. So that was one of them. As weird as that sounds, because like, okay, well, it works. I know it works. Like I know a ton of shops that utilize it and a ton of people that utilize it. And Profit First is awesome. It just wasn't meant for me personally, but I could see the benefit of it. I tell people 100% follow it, especially if you're starting out. Like it's a little more difficult where we're at in our businesses. But if I was just starting out, 100%, I wish I had that at the time. That would have made life so much easier. Kind of what I was talking about, like pay yourself. Okay, well now you got an account that pulls 15% out, or the tax side of things, right? Like 6% and then the 30% or 28% at the end of the year, like pulling that 30% out. Like people don't think about that at the end of the year. That 30% of your profit's going away. Not a bad
Especially
thing.
if you don't have that money in an account somewhere to pay it. That gets to be that's a challenging month of April, April and May, trying to figure out how to pay that tax bill.
I know, it's interesting, and it just gets bigger, which is not bad. I think it's having a big tax bill after all your expenses and depreciations and everything comes into play. Like after that column, takes everything out. Having a big tax bill is so sexy. Like as weird as it sounds, like my one buddy's like, oh, I got a $350,000 tax liability this year. And I'm like, well, how much did you make? He goes, well, I brought in like 1.8 million. And I'm like, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
That you brought in $2 million and all you got to pay is what's 300 grand when you're bringing in 2 million? It's really nothing.
Yeah. Like 20 years ago, I met with my financial advisor who has retired now, but he kind of handed me off to his protege. But I remember him taking a yellow pad and writing $1 million on it. Right.
Yep.
And he said, this is my goal for you. And I'm thinking, my first 20, I was probably late 20s. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'd love to make $1 million a year. And he's like, nope, that's what I want you to pay in taxes every year. That's your goal. That's your goal to pay in taxes.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So that was awesome. Full disclosure, I haven't gotten there yet, but
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
But I just,
I've not quite gotten there yet. I think if I were there, I would probably be podcasting from Grand Cayman with my house that was offered to me. I had a guy offer to write a first refusal on his house right on the beach. So, which was pretty awesome actually, but I didn't quite have the dough to make that happen. So
yeah, it's a lot. It takes a lot. Like the real estate side of things is awesome. I love it. I really do. It takes a lot, especially the first one. After the first one, it gets a lot easier. But the first property sucks to get there.
My first one just about killed me. The one in Oklahoma. I went down there 6 times because I ended up doing a lot more sweat equity than I should have. Like I did all the wiring. I rebuilt a room, bathrooms, painted, flooring, tile, all that crap I did myself with my brother.
Wow.
We made great profit off of it, and which was pretty much tax free, so that was nice. But yeah, I'm ready to do another one. I think the next one will be a little bit easier. That one was quite painful. But
You're gonna keep it local?
no, this one was in Oklahoma. I can't do it locally. I mean, we're in an area now where it's like $375 a square foot to build
Whoa.
here. Yeah, I mean it's very, very expensive here. I've looked at some other options for container apartment complexes and stuff. I've got some companies that I've looked with, but here, like I'm looking now, like in Jacksonville is a pretty cool area that's still growing and viable.
Yep.
And some other areas around the country. But so any other last advice? I've kept you for quite a while, which is I mean, we could do a Rogan length podcast with this for sure. But
I mean, I could go forever. Yeah. I mean, I don't really have advice. It's tough.
We'll call this part one. How about that? We'll call this part one.
I'm good with that. And then once I hit my 150,000 in referral points from my Amex that we put it on here, we'll jump back on again.
You need to use some of that to come visit me in Montana.
I could do that. That's a no-brainer. So the thing is the
talk about mindset real quick. Can you talk about mindset? Because I think a lot of people think that's like, oh, because I had a guy that was on my other podcast talking about mindfulness. And I told him flat out, I'm like, that sounds pretty woo-woo to me. Like when you talk about, that's the term I always give it, woo-woo, yogi, crystals, incense, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But talk about mindset because obviously you're someone that really believes in it. You're talking about, if I want to make $1 million, I can make $1 million. I'm going to make this happen. And all of that. So if you can give a little bit of advice on that, I'd appreciate it.
I'm going to keep this very industry specific, right? Because most of the people that will probably see this will probably be in the well, it can go for any industry. Actually, this can definitely be plugged in anywhere. The last, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, but the last thing I care about is somebody else's business and their success.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I don't care about what this industry, I don't care about the people in the industry. I don't care about the Facebook groups. I don't care about, like I said, what people think about me. I axe all that out completely. Now it's a little different now because working with You're Able and doing everything we do with them, I love working with the people that we work with, like the companies that we get to go see, and because they become friends of mine, right? Yeah. And it's different when you can become friends versus you don't know the person, you're just visualizing what they're doing, like Jason Otterness, right? And everything that he does, and everyone's like, oh my God, Chicago Auto Pros is the greatest thing in the world. And you talk to him and Greg, and they're like, well, let me tell you about all the struggles. Right?
Yeah. When you get to go have dinner with him and realize that it's just like anything else, it's like your business. It's all a struggle. It's just friggin' different numbers, right? Different struggles. It's compounded. It's exponential. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But outside the industry, so I really just don't, it's just not a focus of mine. And the focus is truly on how can I build an amazing culture with a great family around me that's providing a wonderful experience for every person that walks in the door that they really can't get anywhere else. Outside of the business side of things and where my life lies, and I know, we share this, is that you got to find somebody that loves and supports you. Like the minute that I found my wife, like that was game over for me. Like that's when true success started happening, because it really didn't matter what the business did legitimately at all, because I had no money. It was never about the business. It was about what can we create in our lives. And we've created something beautiful already, and we've only been together for 10 years. I can only imagine when we get to your point or Michael Avon's point or any of these.
I'm 28 years this year. So
28, right? So does it get boring?
Dude, it gets better every year. I was thinking when you were telling about that first date story, like that's every date that we have.
Yeah.
Like so literally cool. that curiosity and like it literally, I mean, and no BS, it gets better every year. This is the happiest we've ever been. So,
and that lives true here too. Right. So it's, you got to find somebody and they go first always. Like your business. Like I would just like my brother give up everything today to go into the middle of the woods with my wife to have a picnic with our dog, if it meant that I had to miss out on, the biggest business meeting ever. And I learned that from my dad. It did not matter. So my dad was he was CEO of some big companies. He was like private equity guy, but you would never guess, like meeting him, you would never guess that kind of like all the guys that you were talking about that you're friends with, you're just friends. Right. But it did not matter if he was signing $1 billion deal or not. When we called his number, his secretary, it was like mandatory that she would go in, pull him out of the meeting. Even if he was leading it, didn't matter what he was in. Pull him out of the meeting. So he had that conversation with us, and he was never mad. He was never like, "Why are you calling me?" You know, or "Oh, I'm in the middle of a meeting," or "Do you know what deal I'm about to lose is?" "Hey, Grant, what's going on?" Right? Those are the moments I miss the most. But hey, Grant, what's going on? Like, how you doing? What can I help you with? "Oh, Mom said I can't have Cheetos, but I really want them." "All right, well, just listen to your mom. When I get home, I'll give you some Cheetos." Right? Right? Is everything else good? How was basketball? How was school? But it was always like the connect. Like did not matter. It truly didn't matter. He would lose, and he taught me that lesson that will ring true forever. That I'm going to teach when I have kids too, and I ring true with my family and my wife. And I wish I could do better at it the way he does, but obviously it took him 5 kids to do it.
Yeah.
But it did not matter. So business always come. Business is, at the end of the day, business means nothing. Family means, and connection means everything. So you got to find somebody that you can have this journey with, not just from the business side of thing, but this thing we call life.
Yeah. Yeah. I always talk about using the business is designed to build a life, not the other way around. Your life is not designed to build businesses. There's always more money to be made. And if your life is focused on, if your main goal is to make money, you'll never have enough.
No, never.
That's just how it is. And I mean, it's like, you know, some people might say, well, you do okay for yourself. I'm like, yeah, I do, but I've also made absolutely no money and been broke. And those are the years that I look back and say, well, this is, you know, I made $17,000 a year whenever my wife and I got married, you know, and it's just like, it was great. And every year it gets better. We say yes to pretty much everything, whether or not we can afford it. You know, we're going to the Arctic this summer.
Hell yeah.
To go drive around in Jeeps. And again, it was like, it's an opportunity. We got asked at SEMA by a friend of ours, and he said, "Do you guys want to go to the Arctic? We're going on this trip." No details. And I was like, absolutely. And then I'm like, all right, so what are the details? And as it turns out, the guy has 2 vehicles that are sponsored vehicles that he needs to drive through for this overlanding trip. So cool. We get to drive one of them. So I have to pay for gas and food. It's fully self-contained overlanding. And it's going to be freaking awesome. And we'll shoot content. I'm doing podcasts while I'm there, you know, we're always be creating content. But yeah, I mean, that's awesome advice. You have to find somebody to share this stuff with and really prioritize your relationships over everything, which is what you do in your business and your personal life. And I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate this opportunity for us to kind of connect even further. And it's that's the best part of the industry for me, being part of this industry. It's one of the weirdest ego-driven industries that I've ever been a part of. But those people that aren't that way, the genuine connections and friendships that I've made are, you know, irreplaceable, honestly.
Yeah, once you get out of the ego side of the industry, which I was in. I was definitely in there, 100%.
It's easy to be there.
It's easier, yeah. So just live that experience-based life. Have an experience, have a story to tell, right? Like I said, you live 30,000 days if you're lucky, like super lucky, like extremely lucky. That's above average. That's it, 30,000. When you justify it like that and start looking at life like that, no wonder everyone says, "Oh, it's gone so quick." Like your 28 years of being married, like it's flown by. My 10 years of being with my wife, like it's flown by, and now I understand why. Because once you justify it like that, so that's it. But bro, I right there with you, man. I love you, dude. Thanks so much for this opportunity. It's awesome.
I love you too, brother. We'll call this part 1. I appreciate you. You have a great day.
You too, bro. I'll catch you.
All right, man. Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.